There is no doubt that NASA is the world's largest space agency and one of the most prominent names in the aerospace and space exploration industry. A large part of the most historic space projects and the greatest scientific discoveries in the last 100 years have been the result of the efforts of the scientists and technicians of this collection, projects that have broadened the boundaries of our knowledge. Today marks 60 years since NASA began operations, a civil aviation organization founded in July 1958 to investigate aerospace by direct order of then US President Eisenhower. Subscribe our YouTube channel to watch the rest of this video and more. However, the official start of this organization was on October 1st, 1958, but before we got into the story of NASA's founding, we need to go a little further, where another government agency was established to investigate the aviation industry. In 1915, years before the founding of the U.S. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, a Committee for Aviation Advice was established in the United States. The committee, abbreviated NASA or NACA, was established to coordinate aviation research and was commissioned during World War II to reinforce military warplanes. NASA's activities included aircraft engine construction, aerodynamic component manufacturing, aeronautical testing, and research to optimize aircraft fuel. NACA had achieved a lot in the field of aviation. One of these successes was the construction of aircraft that were able to approach the border of space. But in the 1960s, when the Soviets sent a space satellite out of Earth, the United States needed to focus on space projects. That's why NASA was established, and with the integration of NACA engineers with the NASA team, the committee was completely dissolved. Here are some of the most important projects in NASA's 60-year history in no particular order. Mercury was the first American program for human space flight, which began in 1958 and lasted until 1963. The purpose of the Mercury project was to send the first man into Earth orbit and return him safely to Earth. Atlas missiles were built and tested for this project. Several Atlas rockets exploded in the sky just moments after launch. NASA engineers had to make sure the rockets were doing their job well before sending humans into orbit. After several safe drone launches, the missiles were ready to send cargo into orbit. To do this, the missile's nuclear warhead was removed and a capsule was added to place the astronaut inside the rocket. Everything was ready to send the first man into space, but NASA engineers needed another test before the first manned flight. Doctors believe that even if the rocket did its job properly and did not explode, extraterrestrial weightlessness would still be very dangerous for astronauts. NASA engineers decided to first send a chimpanzee out of the atmosphere to measure the effect of weightlessness on his health. This experiment also went well and the chimpanzee returned to Earth safe and sound, but this delay in sending humans into space pushed the arrival ahead. On April 12, 1961, before NASA sent the first American astronaut into space, the Soviet Union placed Yuri Gagarin in orbit and defeated the United States in a race to reach space. Although NASA sent its first astronaut out of Earth less than a month after Gagarin's historic voyage, it was the loser in the space race. As a part of the Pioneer project, NASA launched a series of unmanned space missions for interplanetary exploration. The original goal of Pioneer projects was to study inner planets, but the Pioneer 10 and 11, the project's most important missions, were launched into the outer planets of the solar system, and passing Jupiter and Saturn transmitted the first close-up images of the planets to Earth. These spacecrafts continued their journey beyond the borders of the solar system and continued to travel across space. NASA engineers had placed a gold plate inside the spacecraft with a picture of a man and a woman and details of the spacecraft creators hacked so that extraterrestrials could find useful information from Earthlings if they could find it. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 were two NASA probes launched to study the planets in our solar system. The main subjects of these two probes were Saturn and Jupiter. The information that Voyager probes obtained from the gaseous planets of our solar system and moons greatly helped astronomers to better understand these planets. Voyager 1 and 2 were able to discover a total of 24 new moons for gas planets. The interesting thing about Voyager probes was that Voyager 2 was launched before Voyager 1, but due to the path that the two took, Voyager 1 reached its destination earlier than Voyager 2, and therefore the naming order in which they were launched, it was different. These two probes have also moved out of the solar system and will continue their journey in space forever, hoping that one day extraterrestrial beings will find it. The famous American astronomer Carl Sagan designed a disk and placed it inside the Voyager 1 probe, on which the address of the planet as well as the welcome message of the Earthlings in various dialects addressed to extraterrestrial beings were hacked. In the following video, we will introduce other important NASA projects.